Does God really speak to people? And how does he speak to you? He has been speaking to me all my life. I just wasn't listening. And I have noticed that there are many pain and suffering and heartache, tribulations and near death experiences that the enemy lined up for me to kill me, that I could have avoided them had I stopped to listen to the voice of God. But the thing is this, I didn't know it was him. That is why parents who are devoted to God and who has given their lives to God, it is very important that you tell your children, teach them how to pray, but also tell them, teach them how God speaks to them. Because I didn't know that was God. I had no teacher. I had nobody to tell me that God spoke to me. And why did my parents not know that God is speaking to me? Because they didn't know that God spoke to them either. The great deception that is out there is that God would only speak to you through a prophet. Lie. Big lie. And that's the deception that we were in, because from the time I was a little girl, I was in the Seventh-day Adventist church, and they said that the only prophet that was left was Ellen G. White, and whatever she says goes, because that's the person who God spoke to, and he ain't gonna speak to nobody else. So I literally believe that whatever God spoke to this woman, I must do. So that is a great deception. We have a powerful God who speaks to every individual if they listen. But I wasn't listening because like I said, I was listening to Ellen G. White. I'm kind of angry about that part right there. I'm kind of angry. I don't care what people say that I'm putting, if I'm putting down a church. I'm putting it down because it destroyed my life. If it didn't destroy my life, I wouldn't be angry, but it did. Your doctrine destroyed my life. And in another video, I'm going to tell you how it did. But I'm angry about that lying prophet. She's a lie. Don't believe anything that is written in her books. But how does God speak to you? God will speak to me. How did he speak to me? Growing up, he spoke to me in the spirit. I could hear, and he would only say like 3 or 4 words, but that's all you needed to hear. And I would go, what was that? But it was in the spirit, so I thought, oh, that's my conscience, or that was my mind, that's myself. But it wasn't, because the voice that spoke to me was literally warning me, but I didn't listen to it. So bam, something happened, and I'm like, wait a minute though. I heard something warn me about that before it even happened. How is that possible? Like one time, this lady was coming to cuss me out, and I had nothing to do with it. It was some big gossiping thing that took place, and somebody mentioned the name Faye that sounds similar to my name. My name is not Faye. My name is Kay. So I saw this lady coming, and all of a sudden, she didn't speak to me. Like I said, nobody spoke to me, and I didn't have much people to speak to, because I'm a weird person. Okay? I spook you out and I weird you out, because if you come around me in 2 minutes, I'm going to be talking to you about scripture. Nobody wants to be hearing that 24/7. Fine. But here I am all by myself, was taking care of my kids, and I saw this lady at least 5, 6, 7 blocks down the street, and I was on the porch, and my kids were sleeping, and I was in deep thought in the Bible, and I came out for a break because the kids were sleeping, and I came out for a break, and I stood on the porch, and I went like this, and I said, oh, I got a break. The kids are sleeping. And I looked up, and there come this lady. All of a sudden, she's walking down the street. All of a sudden, there in the spirit, this voice said, she's coming after you. And I'm like, for what? And I said, wait a minute, why am I answering something that is not speaking? And I said, that is weird. Why would my mind tell me that lady is coming after me? Well, something's wrong with me. And I just stood there and I watched her coming. And the closer she came, the stronger the voice said again, she's coming after you. And I said, why can't I just have a break? Why is my mind playing tricks on me? I'm just trying to take a break. The kids are sleeping. Lord have mercy. Why would this lady be coming after me? Like, what have I ever done to anyone apart from just trying to live my life and keep to myself? I haven't done anything to anyone. There's no reason for this woman to be coming after me. Why is there a voice telling me this woman is coming after me? And I just stood there and I ignored it. And the lady disappeared because I was in the back of my house. Me in the back of my house, when she got to a certain point, I couldn't see her anymore. And I'm like, oh, coming after you, my foot. I'm like, Lord, I need a vacation. I don't know what's this. She's coming after you. And I just stood there and then bam. There's a lady at the bottom of the stairs because she had to go in front of the house, and so the house made it seem as if she was gone because she had to walk this way, and poof, she was out of my vision. And when she was coming toward, it was a 2-story house. When she was coming toward me, I couldn't see her either, so I was just like this on the back of the porch. I'm like, yeah, there she's gone, coming after you, my foot. Mm-hmm. Poof, she showed up at the bottom of the stairs, and I just stared at her like this. I'm like, what in the name of God is this? She did indeed come after me. There she is, looking at me. I said, who is speaking to me? And the lady stood there with much anger and wrath, but she didn't show it right then because I was living at my mother's house, my father's house. I was back in my parents' house. Yep, like I said, I got much stories to tell you about my life that will make your head spin. I was there back in my parents' house, misfortune after misfortune hitting my life like that, and back in my parents' house with my kids and a husband. And I couldn't imagine why this woman was standing at the bottom of the stairs with a lot of anger and wrath. And the only reason why she didn't let out that anger and that wrath was because she was in my parents' yard. And she just looked at me and she told me about the gossip that took place. And I said, I have nothing to do with that. I think there's a misunderstanding. A day after that went by, and I found out from the people, which was my brother and my sister-in-law, they were into some gossip, and somebody said Faye, and this lady thought they said Kay, and my name is Kay, and she came after me. And I just forgot about the whole thing. A couple of days have gone by, and I thought everything was all said and done. I mean, and the reason why I didn't take the voice that said she's coming after you seriously was because nothing serious happened. But what I didn't know was there was a lot of anger and wrath in this woman, which she didn't express until a couple of days after, when I was walking down the street with my children in the stroller, and she saw me. And in front of a whole bunch of people, that woman just went. This time I wasn't in my parents' yard. There was nobody to protect me. I was in the street walking my little children, babies in the stroller, just walking down the street, and she got into my face and she started to let out all that wrath. And I thought to myself, I thought we had come to an agreement that I was not the person involved in this. But she let it out in my face for at least a good old 2 minutes, and she yelled. You know how black people are? They want to show themselves and make people hear. Don't mess with me because this is what's gonna happen to you. You in my face, man. Her fingers were in. That one hand was in my face, and I just looked at her like, I thought we had an understanding that it wasn't me at all. What is wrong with you? What are you? And I looked to my right to look at all the people who are witnessing this. And you know what they did when they saw me look at them, because they knew what the woman was doing was wrong. When I looked at them, they hung their head down, and nobody would come to my assistance and stuff. She didn't hit me, but her hand was right in my face. I could feel the wind. But here's the thing. She was an older woman, and I was like 22, my 20s, very strong. And she was an older woman in her 50s. That woman didn't want to hit me. I could have taken her down with one hand. But the thing is, back then, I had become so beaten down and humbled that I wouldn't even argue back with people. And that's another testimony I'm going to give you about how God humbled me, because my kind of personality was of such that you wouldn't even want to talk to me and look at me funny. And God found a way to humble me. And when she was pointing in my face and stuff, I didn't say a word. What I did was I went home and I cried out to God. I cried out to him and I said, Lord, I'm already having a very hard time. I don't even have food for my children. My husband, I made a mistake. I married the biggest loser on the whole earth. I realize I've made a mistake. I don't even have milk in that can to give my children. I don't even have shoes to wear. I'm borrowing from my sisters and stuff. I used to have everything before I got married, because I worked and I got anything I wanted. And then I got married and then I had nothing. And I said, Lord, I'm not doing anybody anything wrong. I realize my sins and the folly of my ways. I'm suffering for it. Why would somebody attack somebody like me? Why? Why would you attack? Why would you kick somebody when they're already down? Just so you can prove yourself to the neighbors how tough you are. I cried out to God. I'm going to tell you something. The next day, that lady was at my mother's house. And the very hand that she pointed in my face with, it was broken in 3 places. And she came and she asked my mother to call me from upstairs, from the room that I was in, because my parents gave me a little room for me and my kids and my husband. He's my ex now. I don't live with him no more. Couldn't work. And the lady came to my house and called my mother and asked my mother if she could please beg me to take off the curse. And I heard her while I was in my room upstairs, and I'm like, curse? People are so ignorant. Man, what did she think I am, a witch? And she began to tell my mother that she was up in her house. That very moment, she said she went home. She said a powerful feeling came upon her, and she knew that what she did to me was extremely wrong and that I was innocent. And all of a sudden, she said she felt something push her, and she fell down her flight of stairs and broke her arm in 3 places, the very hand that she pointed in my face with. And she said that her house never felt the same again. She feels like there's a presence in there, and she needs to get the heck out of there. And she thought that I put a curse on her, and I was upstairs laughing because I wouldn't come down to remove the curse because there was no curse. I said, I didn't put no curse on her. I cried out to the Lord. The Lord fights my battles. You're fighting God. You're not fighting me. And at the time, it wasn't funny because, man, she was frantic and she was like, call her down to remove the curse. And I'm like, I'm into the Lord. I'm not into no witchcraft. I'm not into the devil. I'm into God. And in my spirit and in my heart, I said, you're fighting God. So there is nothing for me to remove. If God saw that that was what you needed, then that's what you got. Because it was the very hand, that same hand that she pointed in my face, not even her, no other part of her body. That hand and that finger, broken. Hold your peace and let the Lord fight your battles. Hold your peace. And I had to find out that We as children of God have to literally take him at his word. When he says, hold your peace and let me fight your battle, he means it. So I'm learning that again. When you belong to God, God is going to make you go astray and become the prodigal son for a little while, but he's going to bring you back. I prefer his spanking. I prefer the Lord to spank me and bring me back and humble me. His humbling does not feel good. Man, it's painful. It's painful. It's painful. But when you know that God is for you, even in the midst of your pain, you're going to say, this is for a reason. God is doing this to me for a reason. Know that he is doing it, and he's doing it for a reason. Romans 8, if you love God, he's for you. And whatever you are going through, it's going to be for your good. Don't we as parents spank our children because we know what is good for them? So when God spanks me, I'm like, oh. But in my heart, I say, you're spanking me, aren't you? And then sometimes I'm like, could you stop spanking me already? That's how we talk. That's how me and God talk. But anyways, that was just one instant of one of the supernatural ways how God spoke to me. I didn't know it was him. I didn't listen. But how he intervened quickly, like quickly. Oh, man. He intervenes quickly when people messed with me. But then he stopped because I began to get all puffed up, and I started to argue and fight with people myself. All of a sudden, I'm like, look what's going to happen to you. And nothing happened. And I'm like, wait a minute, where's God? Well, God is on the side because you're doing all the fighting. Hold your peace and let the Lord fight your battles. I'm telling you, there's more testimonies like these to come that will blow your mind. Keep listening. And it's not because I want to tell you that God is a God that is out to get people. God is a merciful God, but he's a just God, and he don't like when people mess with his children. Okay? Hebrew to Hebrew.